Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Colin Canet. Today I'm talking about why I quit using polyurethane probably close to 20 years ago. So let's jump in. Now before I get started, for those of you who are here because you like polyurethane and you want to see what I'm going to say about it, if you are using polyurethane and you like it and you're getting good results, then keep on using it. You don't have to change just because I don't like something or I say something. But if you're here to learn something and maybe look at some other alternatives, then this might be the video for you. So what I have here is just a generic polyurethane because polyurethane can be made by many different companies. So first of all, I want to tell you all the things that I like about polyurethane. First of all, it's available anywhere. You can go to almost any paint store, any department store, lumber store, hardware store, big box store. You can buy polyurethane virtually everywhere. The other thing that I like about polyurethane, it's, I think, fairly reasonably priced for what it is. Now, there may be some, when I'm saying that, I have a bit of a caveat here, and that is that whenever I've used polyurethane, and I've used it 2 or 3 times in the last 20 years, I always find I use about 3 or 4 times the amount of polyurethane that I do on some other products. So, but it's inexpensive. You know, a can like this, a quart of this, is around $25. So it's reasonably inexpensive. The other thing I like about polyurethane is, well, that's pretty much it. 2 things. That's all I really like about polyurethane. Now let me show you things that I don't like about polyurethane. So the first thing that I dislike about polyurethane is almost all of it that's sold, according to the people that sell it, and because I asked them what's the most popular, gloss. Some of them don't even stock satin or matte. They just, everything's gloss. And when I see samples of people that use polyurethane, it's almost all glass. And guess what? It's hard to see. You know, we're working with wood. I like to be able to see the wood grain, the textures of the wood, the colors of the wood. But when you've coated it with polyurethane and you have to move around to look at something because the light is reflecting back at it, that really annoys me that I have to do that to look at some features of wood. Now, the other thing is when I go to wood art shows or to wood shows that have art displays on there, and I see people making all of these gorgeous things. Some people will spend days, even weeks, making something out of wood. Some gorgeous boxes, some unbelievable carvings, all sorts of things. And then when it's all finished, they have something that's worth $200, $300, $500, and then what do? They coat it with 3 or 4 coats of glossy polyurethane. So they take something that's worth maybe hundreds of dollars for all the work and effort they put into a gorgeous thing, and it looks like it's been dipped in plastic because it's just glossy everywhere. And yes, polyurethane is plastic. For all of you who tell me, oh, I don't like resin finishes, I don't like the poured tables because it's all plastic, guess what? Polyurethane is plastic. It's not a natural substance. So here's a sample board, the same sample board that I made, and this is all polyurethane. And you see how you can't see the grain? You have to tip it around, you have to move your head somewhere so you can actually see the grain. You can't just sort of walk up to it and look to it, and I'm going to compare it with something else later on. The other thing I don't like about polyurethane, you cannot repair it. There is no way of repairing it, and believe me, I have tried. If something happens in the workshop and you gouge something near the end or when you're assembling or something, you cannot. You literally have to strip it, and it's a bear to strip off because if you've done something wrong with polyurethane and you have to recoat it, maybe it's bumpy or maybe it's something going on with it, you cannot repair it. Your repairs are so obvious, you can spot them from across the room. You can never get a lovely silken finish with a glossy with any polyurethane, at least that I've ever seen. That nobody's ever demonstrated me that they can do it, not like some of the other things. Some people are very affected by the odor of polyurethanes, but the biggest thing that I get, and this is what's triggered this video today, is polyurethane seals in moisture. And a lot of people will coat the top, the sides, and even the back. And what happens if your wood is a little bit damp, what happens, the moisture will come and moisture for some reason in wood always rises. It rises to the top just like it does in nature. And if you've got a piece of wood that looks like this and all of a sudden a few days later it shows up with a fog in there, that's because you're using wet wood and the moisture has come to the surface and it's now underneath here. And if that moisture is bad enough, it will actually lift. And it will lift it in sometimes in sheets, and sometimes it'll do the entire thing, but it will lift the finish because it will separate the polyurethane from the wood. The same thing happens if you're using oily woods. For example, cedar. Most cedars are very oily woods, and if you use those with a polyurethane again, the polyurethane, it might take a week, it might take a month, it might take a year, but it will lift. And even exotic woods, most exotic woods are referred to as oily woods, and they will also, when you coat those with polyurethane, over time, they will lift the finish. So it will all lift off. Sometimes bits of sheets. What I often see is if it lifts in one area, it'll actually crack and it allows for the wood to get out. So if you're using polyurethane and you like it, but you're having problems because you're using wet wood, then do not coat the back, because what you can do with polyurethane, if you've used wet wood and you have fogging coming through, turn your item upside down so that the moisture can wick out. And the best thing to do is to literally lay it on an electric blanket on very, very low and just let it sit. And in a few days, that moisture may wick out on you so that you don't have to redo it. Because the other option is to strip this all off and resand it and recoat it with something else. So let's talk about for a moment recoating with something else. I just talked about recoating with something else or recoating, and that's an option for some people if it gets damaged or bumped or there's water wicking up and it's lifted somewhere. Now what do? Well, if you've got polyurethane, all you can do is coat it with literally more plastic. So strip it off or maybe try and do a repair. You cannot put any oil on top of this. It will not dry. It will never dry because the polyurethane prevents it from soaking into the wood. Even sanding it, lightly sanding it, no, it doesn't work. You need to sand this right down to bare wood, and only then can you apply another coating of something else on that, because polyurethane is a perfect sealer and it will not let anything in or out. So that's your fix, is to literally strip it down somehow. Now, let's look at some options of things that people have tried that they have the same issues with. One of them is Danish oil. And Danish oil, again, there's different manufacturers for it or different offerings for it, and other kinds of mixtures. This is what I've got here is teak oil, and teak oil is offered by a number of different companies. This one I really like because what the problem with Danish oil and similar oils is they are polyurethane mixed with sometimes an oil, and often they have polyurethane in them. So when you coat, for example, Danish oil looks lovely. You coat it on there, and it does a really nice finish. Then something happens. Somebody leaves a cup on it or something hot on it, and you need to repair it. So then you go and you get something else, maybe some other finish, and you try and put an oil finish on it or another kind of finish, and you find out that it doesn't stick. 5 days later, it's still wet to the touch. And that's because some of these different kinds of finishes, sometimes it can be a teak oil, which is really a linseed oil with some additives in it. Danish oil, same thing, variety of mixtures. Anything with varnish or polyurethane, you have to recoat it with exactly the same thing. And even then, because there's oils in here, it still doesn't finish really nicely when you do another finish on. So what are the options? I'm not trying to recommend anything for you. What I'm suggesting is maybe look around, talk to your friends, see what they use, talk to experienced woodworkers, see what they use. When you see a piece of furniture, find out what the person used to finish it. But I use shellac. It comes in flakes, so you have to mix it up yourself. This is my little kit so that I don't have to go back and look at the formula every time. So there's some shellac that I use. Yes, I do use Osmo, and yes, it is a little bit expensive, but you also use, I think, like a quarter or something of what you would use with polyurethane. You use very little of it. I use boiled linseed oil, and I use tung oil from time to time. It depends what I'm doing and what I'm using. Sometimes I might use these for an undercoat and this for a top coat, all sorts of different options. And this is just a small sampling. If you go looking at different finishes for wood, you'll find probably 3 or 4 times the amount of what I have here. Odies oil, a lot of people like Odies oil. I've never used it, but there's all sorts of different things that you can look at. So what I want to show you now, as I'm closing here today, the difference between different finishes. So obviously, whereas this one here on my left, your right, is the gloss. And you can see that these are side by side, and I can move these back and forth. They're off the table. They're just butted together. And you can see the gloss, how it runs across that polyurethane. And no matter what I do, there's a tiny bit of a sheen in the Osmo, but you never ever have to strain. You can always see the wood, the color of the wood, and the texture. And that's what I like to see. I want to see, when I'm looking at woodworking projects that people like you have made, I don't want to have to be straining every time to see the wood and the grain and the texture and all of that, and all of the work that you've done. I don't want to see it destroyed. The other thing, it would be nice that I don't get any more emails from people that say, oh, I've got my wood is I just made a big table, a farmhouse table, and it looks like it's fogging. What's wrong with the material that I'm using? Did my polyurethane go bad? Nope, it didn't go bad. You just used some wet wood. In another video coming up, I'm going to talk more about that and how you can get some better results from that as well. So use what you want. Get the best results you can, and talk to other people and see what they use and see what might fit you better. If you're not getting really good results using polyurethane, something else might work better for you. I'm Colin Canet for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.